welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We have with us Gilles Marin, who is the author of this wonderful book, Healing from Within, with Chi Nei Tsang. Now many of you may be asking, what is Chi Nei Tsang? It is an ancient healing art from, of course, China, that Gilles has both mastered and runs a school out of Berkeley, California on the subject. He's got students from all over who come. He's quite an exceptional being who has truly mastered this fine ancient art in his own body. He uses Qigong and other spiritual meditative practices essentially from the world of Taoism while doing the art. And he'll be speaking with us about this ancient art, its relevance for us today, and the kinds of healings that people experience. It's not just healing in the way we think about our body being healed, but we're talking about a true, full, organic, mind, body, heart healing. And I can tell you, I just went through it. Gilles was just working on me, doing his magic, and I feel great. I feel like I am living testimony to the high art of this work and of Gilles' mastery of it. And truly that is just with one session. So you'll be hearing more about that as the interview goes on, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Gilles, c'est un plaisir. Great to have you. Great to have you. I meant every word I said.
Thank you.
I feel I feel like it's a nice thing to kind of connect with people on the experiential level.
Absolutely.
First, and just to say what you're doing, because a man is measured by what he does, you know, and not so much by what he says. And to open up a talking interview with what you've done is the highest testimony as far as I'm concerned. I feel energized, I feel grounded, I feel centered, and I feel sort of like more myself than with just my regular homeostatic method going as it kind of bounces along.
That's the whole idea. The whole idea behind healing is to be able to find yourself, your real self. Because most of disease, I really believe, comes from the fact that people comes out of their own way. Meaning that they have their way, their life purpose. They have a life purpose, and they come out of it.
I see.
Veer of it. And the spirits within people have this way of trying to bring their body back in track.
Interesting.
And that's how we get sick. We get sick. The sickness itself is not really the problem. The sickness is actually most of the time a healthy reaction. It's an attempt for the spirits to bring back the person what they're supposed to do.
In a sense, you could say a sickness, right? Yeah. The sickness is a symptom of a problem, and the problem is that somebody has gone off their life purpose, their calling, which is why they came into existence in the first place.
That's right. And usually something, it's quite simple, you know. It's not that you need to know exactly what you're supposed to do in life. No, that's quite impossible. But you need to feel comfortable in whatever you do in life. You need to feel comfortable, you need to feel accepted, you need to feel supported, and you need to feel good about yourself.
Yes.
And that's really fundamental.
Yes, exactly.
And as soon as we are put in a situation where those conditions are not met, then that's how the soul starts to hurt. And that's the whole start of we call disease, meaning we don't feel good, we try to readjust with other situation of the condition, and we start to change, quote unquote, not the way we're supposed to change, and that brings sickness.
You're no longer at ease. It's really that simple.
It's that simple.
You're defining it and relying on the wisdom of the ancient Chinese that had this aced.
Yes.
It really comes through.
Yeah.
It really comes through.
Yeah. Talking about the ancient Chinese, the way I really practice it is not really trying to imitate the old way of the Chinese. I really believe that, it's not necessary. We don't need. I mean,
We don't even know how they did it really
no,
anyway.
no, I mean, it's like thousands of years ago. It's not, relevant any longer. We have to find right here, right now, the ways to do it. And, that's the way, that's what Tao means. Tao doesn't mean that we have to do the old ways. No. Old ways is the old ways. It's the ways for the old time. Now it's right now, new days, and we have to adapt to the new situations all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier, and I think it's a very valid point.
Yeah.
What I think, distills, Gilles, from the ancient customs and teachings is the principle involved.
Absolutely.
That's what we want,
Yes.
because the principle is constant in an otherwise ever-changing world.
That's right. That's why what's important is not the technique. Technique change all the time. You have
Yeah.
to apply a new technique to a new situation, to a new person all the time. But you have to apply the principle behind the technique. That doesn't change. That's
Right,
true.
exactly. Now, how did you get into Chi Nei Tsang in the first place? What is your story?
I've been lucky.
Clermont.
Lucky, but I think I was lucky because I met always the right person, the right time. I met great people.
Good
great
timing.
Teachers, timing. I had no idea I was going to get into that field when I started. I started as a teenager doing martial art.
In France,
In
from
France,
Nice.
and, and always, a teenager wants to do martial arts because he has good reasons. Love
Macho
anger,
reasons.
that's right, macho, and things.
Yeah.
So
Insecurities
and sort of anger, things like that. Of course, issues to deal with. And I was very lucky because I learned with our old master, André Noke, who learned with the old master in Japan. Mori Wushiba, and what he transmitted to me, Aikido master.
Sure.
And what I got through him is really the principle of peace, of healing, and use of Chi for that. So the training for the Chi I used in martial art was actually taught to me to use for healing. And I was very lucky because even in his classes, I started to learn basic shiatsu, the kwatsu, the jinshindo, and all that, as a part of the teaching. So I was very
transmission.
lucky. I was very lucky.
Yes, you were in the right place at the right time, clearly.
That's right.
Wow.
So when I came here in this country, I got my black belt, and but we're just doing the martial art aspect of it. And I looked around for classes. Yeah, I don't want to give it up, And I got into some shiatsu classes and things like that. And then I realized that whatever I learned from the old master was quite valuable. And to a point that even teachers asked me for, demonstration and treatments, and that's how I started to practice, basically. People are asking me for treatment.
Yeah.
I never really intended to, from the beginning, to really get into it.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But your life purpose was shaped
That's it.
by your chi
Yeah.
field,
That's it.
if you will, right?
And the transmission from the master, this wonderful, message of peace and healing. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Could you give us an idea of what separates out Chi Nei Tsang from shiatsu and all of the other modalities that many come from the Far East?
Yes.
Many are being innovated today. This is a very particular approach
Yes.
with its own etiology.
Absolutely.
Could you describe that to our audience?
The main aspect of Chi Nei Tsang, for me, that's the most important, is the aspect of healing versus curing. See, when
indeed.
we think about a treatment, we think about medical. We think about trying to fix a problem, trying to cure a problem, trying to get rid of a disease, which is fine. I mean,
Right.
that's, the medical aspect, we need it, we need to get rid of suffering, we don't want pain, that's fine. But what's most important, you need first to get rid of the reason why you have pain. The reason why
The cause.
you get a disease, yes. And the cause, most of the time, most of the time, it's 99% of the time, is emotionally related. These emotional charges, emotional background, were set up to have that kind of disease or pains or, especially chronic conditions that is trying, again, the spirit is trying to guide you to listen to something to bring us back into our way, into our life purpose or the way was supposed to be.
Do you feel that a particular, just to veer off for a moment,
Uh-huh.
each particular disease has its own message, or is it not?
I don't think so.
It's
I
more
don't think
custom
so.
tailored
Yes.
to the individual?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's why.
For instance, you know, like Louise Hay's work that says, you know, a problem with the knees means this, and a problem with migraines means that, and this and that. It's sort of like
there
one
is that.
size
We
fits
can-
all.
You can have, not that different from one another. We both have both knees, we have both two eyes, with bodies, and we live at the same time, the same community, more or less. So we share a certain, constant, and actually with Chi Nei Tsang, we can actually map out the whole emotional body. We do that.
Amazing.
And it's quite very,
As they
very
relate,
precise.
as each organ relates to
That's
a
right.
different emotion, as per the 5-element theory,
Yes.
and beyond that?
And beyond that. And beyond that.
Okay.
Because the mapping, of course, changes a little bit from person to person.
Sure.
And this all depends of a belief system. In a matter of belief system, for example, something very simple, we are gender split. Yeah? And if our belief system, like most of our belief system in our society, we have a yin side is more left, yang side more right, so more masculine on the right side, more feminine on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a tendency to carry our belief system about femininity on our left side and the belief system on our masculinity on the right side. So you might find a charge connected with your father more likely on your right side than your left side. But not everyone is the same. Some people might have grown up only with a mother and not a father, and the male figure quite distant or kind of foreign. So maybe the mother might appear on the right side because having the more, yang role in the family. So,
So it can be
changes.
reversed.
It
Okay.
can be reversed. You have to adapt again to the person you're addressing. Yeah.
So I'm going to just synthesize this for a moment. You'll tell me if I do it correctly.
Okay.
In short, there is a through line, so to
Yes.
speak, between there being certain kinds of problems with certain kinds of emotions. There is a tendency, a general tendency.
Absolutely.
However, each individual will really do that, kind of embody that in their own very particular way.
Yeah.
So much so it could even reverse that general trend of society.
Yes, and that's done, of course, through interpretation. You might through understanding, but again, it's not necessary.
Right.
It's not necessary.
Right.
Of course, in this culture where, we want to understand,
Exactly.
and it's good. But in terms of healing, understanding comes after. It's actually a byproduct. It might come, it might not. But what's important is healing has to happen first. And healing means change, means a transformation, is a shift happening. Now, you might understand why the shift happened, or you might not understand, but what's important is the shift happened. You want to move from that place where you understand why you feel that way to a place where you can say, oh, I used to feel that way. Now, what happened in between, who cares? Once you made that shift,
Right.
it's not that important any longer.
Only in as far as you can use that as a blueprint for change in the future, or to help educate others.
Yes. As a blueprint for later, I don't think you really need it because it's integrated. If you've done it once, your body knows how to do it twice.
Ah, okay.
That's it.
Okay.
So there is a progression. You see, healing most of the time is very difficult because no one has done it before. But then you understand that there's no such thing as healing happens now. Healing happens all the time. It's an ongoing thing.
I'm glad you
It's
said
evolution.
that. I was about
it's a
to say that.
process.
Sure.
It's a
I mean,
process.
just when you go outside and the air is cold and there's a lot of wind,
Yeah.
your body, its own intelligence, is already bringing white blood cells to gather in order to protect you from the elements at that moment in time.
That's right.
You don't have to think about it. You don't have to know rationally why it's happening. It is happening.
That's right.
Analogously, the healing that you're doing is truly similar.
Yes, it's ongoing. That means that once you're able to shift, once you're able to process a big emotional charge that connects with the pain in your shoulder or in your guts or somewhere, then the body learned that lesson.
Yes.
See, our nervous system is not designed to unlearn. Once you know something, that's it. If you know how to bicycle, doesn't matter if you don't touch the bicycle for years. The next time you go on the bicycle, it's never going to be like the first time. Your body learns something.
That's right.
It's going to retain something there. So it's a process. Once the body got it once, that's the most difficult part, is to start. To have that starting. Once you start to, your body start to understand what the healing process is about, then it adopts it.
Exactly.
And this will healing get better all the time.
Would you define Chi Nei Tsang specifically for the audience?
Okay, Chi Nei Tsang. Chi Nei Tsang. Nei Tsang. Nei Tsang, or Nei Zhang, if you talk Mandarin or Cantonese, it's about guts. It's about the internal organs. And the Chi... Viscera. And Chi...
If you speak Latin.
Is... it's energy and information. So information, that's the most important part, because it's about the general attitude of the internal organs, and that's where our life force comes out from. And Chi Nei Tsang is the art of working with the information from the internal organs. So that's the inner life, from inner life.
So unlike other body work or healing techniques, which will work on the limbs, for instance, I mean, in acupuncture, of course, we do the distal points frequently, meridians. Here you're focusing on the dantian, that is the center, the elixir field, right in the middle of it all.
Right here.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so you focus on the viscera, which once shifted, once healed, emanates out to the rest of the body.
Yes. So that's the technique. Technically, Chi Nei Tsang works actually even right from the navel. So the navel, that's the root of the fascia of what covers the whole body. That what gives you your shape. Gives you your shape. That means the information. Shape or the information, and also the fascia. That's where the energy runs. That's where the meridian system runs in the body.
Through the fascia.
Through the fascia. So the navel is also the place where we grow from. See, a fetus, when this right in right from the fecundation, the eggs connects in the uterus, it start to develop, it start to grow. The attachment on the uterus, that's the navel. Okay, so as a person, we grow from the navel. Everything goes from here. So that's the root, energetical root, informational root, and structural root of the person.
Interesting. Interesting.
From there, we're going to find, you can trace every single tension in the body. Every single tension in the body is going to have a reflection on the navel.
So you analyze the navel?
Yes, you look at the navel.
The whole area?
And then you can see, actually, it can give you a basic pattern, of health. You can diagnose, from the navel, you can see where there is pulls or, charges, big, and you can really see it, it's physical.
Yes. And so the whole navel area reshapes as the healing goes on.
Absolutely, yes.
So interesting.
And you're never going to see two different and
the same
navel, impossible, because personality is different.
It's incredible.
And within the person, they change all the time too.
Now, what kind of problems, Gilles, do you see get cleared up through the use of what doesn't, in other words?
Okay. Always people
I just want to tell you all, folks, that
that's right.
We're seated with Gilles Marin, who is the author of this wonderful book, who runs an institute of Chi Nei Tsang out in Berkeley, and is also the gentleman who put together this very interesting CD called Sleeping Qigong, where he goes into the real role of sleep in healing. And it's fascinating. Most people take sleeping for granted, yet he goes into another depth, another way of understanding, another level of it. So you can really utilize sleep to its maximum.
Heal.
This is a great gift.
And also for people, they can't sleep because a big problem, people, they need healing, they can't sleep. And if you can't sleep, you can't heal. And sleeping, especially nowadays, is a very big problem.
Yeah.
You know, like I think in the 50s, the average sleeping time in the United States was 9 hours. And now we're under 6 hours. It's very epidemic.
Yes.
And it's scary because there's no way the body can recover from anything if there is not enough sleep. So there is different meditation, different formulas, from balancing melatonin, serotonin in the brain to working with the dream life in your body, and to be able to induce sleep. There's some formula in there where you can actually sleep on command eventually. I can put myself to sleep in 3 minutes.
Really?
Wide awake. That's how I travel. I go no jet lag.
Wow.
It's very
That's
good.
powerful.
That's some Qigong I learned from with some Chinese masters.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's probably a good moment to mention that you've had a number of different teachers, from Dr. Stephen Chang
Yes.
to Mantak Chia,
Mantak Chia.
many people know.
Yeah.
And each one has
Li Jung
exercised,
Feng, the very many,
has given you a certain influence and a certain...
Oh, yes.
In fact, what I'm thinking about now, Gilles, is the use that you make of the fusion and other meditative Taoist techniques that you've learned from Mantak Chia, and apply them in the action of doing the Chi Nei Tsang, and then you teach this also to your students.
Absolutely. And that's what makes also the big difference between Chi Nei Tsang and the other modalities, massage therapy, is that the whole principle of Qigong and meditation is integrated in the practice, technical, hands-on. So Chi Nei Tsang becomes a induced meditation. It becomes an induced Qigong. Yeah.
It's transmitted in a sense.
Transmitted. And that's why, the most important part of the teaching is not really the technique of Chi Nei Tsang. We can see that the hands getting into the abdomen and doing different things of the organs. The most important part is what's going on behind. It's what really the practitioners does in matter of Qigong and meditation that allows the energy to flow a certain way.
So interesting. What is the relationship between this practice and longevity? What have you seen in that domain?
Longevity, that's a big subject. Okay.
Americans love this subject,
Dr. Chang, there's a good anecdote here. Dr. Chang made a very good tea called Long Life Tea. You probably find it now because he sold it to another company.
Yes.
Long Life now.
Oh, sure. Right.
And always in his class, someone always to ask, Dr. Chang, what is the story about, Long Life Tea, And I remember Dr. Chang is a very good person, and he always same answer, say, my tea is a very good tea, If you drink my tea, you relax, you enjoy life, and makes your life longer because you enjoy it more.
You want to extend it.
Yes. So if you actually relax and slow down, your life gets longer. So the length of life is not counted in number of years. The length of life is more like in the richness of life and the quality of life.
Exactly.
The only way not to die is not to be born. Then you're really immortal.
Well put.
As soon as we're born, we're gonna die sometime, and some people think they know already when, it's like, it doesn't matter. What's important is what happens in between.
So you think that even the Taoist teachings of physical immortality are not so rich?
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Another turn of the page.
No. Immortality, the way the Taoist is taught also, is to be taken also figuratively, of course. All the immortals, passed on. There's like hundreds of saints.
Sure.
And immortals, so much immortals.
Yes.
What's important is to develop the immortality of the soul. And so that's a cultivation that's done when you do Qigong, when you do meditation, when you learn to build your energy body, your soul body, in a way that you can bring in it to enrich it with your consciousness. And so with that consciousness, eventually what they call immortality, that's when you're able to transmit the consciousness to wherever else you go after you die.
Sure, sure.
But you will
after
die.
the physical body, but you will. No matter what, folks, right?
That's right.
The physical body enters and it leaves the stage.
That's right.
Sure.
I mean, even the earth one day is going to die. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Still
exactly.
around.
Hold on to what? You know?
Yeah, no.
It's
That's
true.
not
It's
all
true.
right.
But this is really fabulous work, and it merits actually a number of interviews because the material is so rich.
Oh, it's very rich,
and
yes.
it has such depth that it's really hard to capture it in this. But I feel that we have at least given some indication. But if in our closing moments, I had asked the question, what kind of conditions have you seen clear up from the work that you do and your students do?
It's not the same. People always ask me, can you cure constipation? Can you cure a heart problem? Can you cure? I say, no. I'm not treating symptoms. I'm treating you. I'm treating a person.
Right.
So as long as a person is alive, whatever is going on in that person, there is room for a change. I worked on that person that was actually scheduled for heart transplant. And after less than half a dozen treatments, he could go jogging. And no need for heart transplant. He came, in a wheelchair with air, oxygen mask and everything. A psychotherapist.
You brought him into his body, where we belong.
And in less, in a month and a half, he gained his health back. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Gilles, it has been a pleasure and an honor to have you on.
It's my pleasure.
And, please continue this work.
Thank you.
Because it's helping so many people.
All right.
So, this is something truly worth reading. Pick up if you can. Contact Gilles if you'd like on the website that will be put on after this. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. Today we are continuing on with the author of this book, Gilles Marin, who teaches this famous ancient Chinese art of healing, Chi Nei Tsang. He has an institute in Berkeley. He has students in different parts of the country, including New York. And this is a very profound, very much of the moment kind of healing work. It is a technique, but it goes far beyond technique. It's really a way of looking, it's a way of being. He incorporates the great wisdom of the Chinese practices of Qigong, of fusion Taoist meditation techniques, and the like in the work of his practitioners. And there is a transmission that occurs through this healing work. So it's far beyond the idea of just healing the physical body. It's truly a holistic, organic kind of healing. So we're very glad to have Gilles back with us as we'll go into another level of depth in this interview about this work. Gilles, enchanté.
Hello, Mitchell.
Great to have you. Great to have you. As you see, I feel rather impassioned about this because maybe at first because of your passion.
Yes.
And in fact, I feel that the work that integrates the mind with the body and the emotional life and truly fuses them together is really the healing of the future. We've been compartmentalized for so long now, over the past couple of hundred years, that we've lost the true holistic systemic relationship
Yes.
all parts have with each other and the individual has with the cosmos.
Yes.
I feel that you're helping to reground that, as it were, and the work of the Institute is doing this.
Yes. It's the meaning of healing. Healing means, again, it's not about fixing. It's about really bringing the person together with oneself.
Sure. Under one roof, so to speak.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
So be able to not really, people have a funny idea what integrity means. Integrity, you should be
Yes.
you have to think this way, feel that way, and everything else. No, that's not me. No, it's actually really the reverse. Integrity in the world of healing is really to reintegrate all those dark parts of ourselves. It's really to reconnect with all those alienated part of ourselves that we deny the right to be, and really to realize that yes, of course, this is the way I feel, and therefore yes, it's the part of myself. And that way, that's the way we actually we connect with the rest of the world.
Yes.
Because we are the world. Everything going on in the world goes on inside here. Anything we think is wrong out there, it's not out there. We need to fix it. It's in here first. And really the work of healing starts here,
Yes.
within ourselves.
I think that is so true.
Yeah.
Now, when you went and started working on me, by the way, the work of Chi Nei Tsang happens primarily in the abdomen, around the abdomen, and the torso. And when you were working on me, one of the first things that you said was, I have found some kind of charged emotion. You didn't say there was a problem with my large intestine.
No.
You said there's a charged emotion in
That's
here.
right.
Could you explain what you mean?
Yeah, because your large intestine doesn't have a problem really. The problem is the charge inside the large intestine. Large intestine is doing his best, to cope with it. So he might not feel very good, of course, at time, but the release like having to deal with something that's inside, and we actually digest emotions the way we digest food,
Or not.
or not. So some emotions are easy to digest, some emotions not so easy, some emotions not digestible, at least at a certain point in time. So, we swallow sometimes emotional bricks, and they have to go somewhere.
Exactly.
So we have to store them in place where they are more convenient or not so inconvenient, where place where we don't, we protect ourselves from feeling bad, which is, the natural thing to do. We exist, we live to enjoy life. So there is a principle in our body that's really a miracle. is that it protects us from feeling bad. And that's what we call the denial system. Thanks God for it.
Yes.
We have denial system to protect us from feeling bad with things that we're not able to handle. So we put things literally into place in our parts of our body that's, those parts of the body, we stop breathing a little bit there, we stop feeling, we contract a little bit around, and we put our body in position where we're not going to feel so bad.
We
But
kind
the
of work
problem-
around it.
That's a work around it.
Devitalize
Yeah.
it also.
Yes, so that part of the body we contract, we don't breathe so much, and we stop feeling it, which is okay. We're not going to feel bad there. But the problem is that we're not going to feel good either. And that's our body's not going to let us get away with that.
Yes.
Because we're here to enjoy life. So given the
And you
opportunity,
need your full body to do it.
absolutely. So that means that if you're too weak or too young or not enough support system to cope with the situation, your body's going to protect you from feeling it. But as soon as you're mature enough, you have a stronger support system, and you're able to cope with that charge, then your body's going to want you to take care of it.
Yes, yes.
So it's not that you have to suffer. No, you have to be able to digest that charge. So eventually, that part of the body that's holding the charge is able to enjoy itself again.
And how do you go about bringing that into existence through Chi Nei Tsang?
Is to reverse the denial process, to help reverse denial process, because you can never do it if the person is not ready. Yeah, so you have to do is to bring the breath, bring the feelings, bring awareness, and of course when you start to feel that, it doesn't feel so good. So big difference between Chi Nei Tsang and massage and make you feel good things. Most of the time, Chi Nei Tsang doesn't feel so good when you first experience it, because what it does is put you in touch with things that you try to protect yourself from feeling.
That you've been denying.
That's right, for good reasons. Yeah. So then that's what we call healing crisis. So healing crisis means, you get awareness there. So now you know that you have something in there and it doesn't feel so good. So it's starting to digest. So it's like you swallow a brick, and that brick is going to go through the digestive tract. So you're going to break down that brick in smaller pieces, so it's easier to process. But eventually, you digest it.
So to extract a certain principle from what you're saying, Gilles,
Yeah.
while you may cast that life is here for us to enjoy,
Yes.
there's another part of it, which is more complex, which is that in order to enjoy,
Yeah.
one must pass through some suffering
Yes.
of that which one has denied, whether it's for an hour, day, week, month, year, or lifetime.
You know what? It doesn't have to be suffering. We make it a suffering. We make it a suffering because of not knowing, because basically we don't know. I'm really sure that is part of the human evolution. I'm very sure that in few generations from now, people will go through the healing process naturally without even needing a treatment. And they would laugh at us and look, they used to need to do
How
that
primitive.
in order how primitive.
They had to rub
They had to
the
go like that
abdomen.
in order to feel this, and that. It's something that's become eventually natural. It's about integrating that piece of awareness. It's evolution of consciousness.
Yeah.
So when we say that we go through the suffering in order to heal, the suffering is there just because usually it's a reaction. Yes, there's suffering involved, but again, it's more like what I call emotional indigestion. When you eat too much of something, you're going to go through the suffering of having that thing going through your system.
Yes.
It's the same thing at the
Yes.
healing level. Emotions is something that's hard to digest, it's going through your system, you're going to suffer through it. But it's going to go through, it's not going to stay.
And also, I want to
Yeah.
bring just another idea to bear, which is
Yeah.
suffering, as we typically say and speak about it, is something to be avoided at all costs. However, from ancient times, from the wisdom teachings that we have from East and West,
Yes.
there is an idea of what we call conscious suffering,
Yes.
which is when you open yourself up to the process
Yeah.
that you call suffering. But as you were suggesting earlier, that's an interpretation of experience.
Absolutely.
Even pain is an interpretation of experience.
Yes.
And that can be altered through the mind.
Yes.
Also, on another level, etymologically, the word to suffer really comes back to the Latin, which means to accept.
Yes.
And to accept is related to the word embrace.
Yes.
Not etymologically, but
Yeah.
figuratively, connotatively.
Yes.
So what you've got is a situation where you're looking to embrace your experience,
Yes.
not judge it.
Absolutely.
So suffering becomes something actually, it sounds funny, but
Yeah.
to pursue.
Yes.
If you want to clear,
Absolutely.
cleanse, detoxify, confront, deal with all that which has been in denial.
Actually, you hit it right on the nose. It's really the principle of healing. Healing is being able to go through the center of things, where at the center of things, everything is perfect. This is your way, this is your life purpose, and there's happiness around it. It is fulfillment. Now, around that core, there is all this wrapping made of all those emotional charges, issues that we inherited even from our parents, grandparents, culture, whatever hang up we have.
Yes.
That involves, creating pain.
Yes.
And creating pain in the world, creating pain in the body is the same.
Yes.
So in order to heal, you need to get to that core. But in order to get to that core, you have to break through all that wrapping.
Yes.
And that's the wrapping that's painful.
And so when you press your hand in, and by the way, Gilles, when he puts his hand on you, he doesn't really put it on you. He puts it in you. It starts to
But no
go.
pain.
No pain. C'est magique. It goes through a place that you didn't know existed, right to the spine. Now, when you do that, what actually would you say you're doing?
It's very hard to explain because what you see is very spectacular. Of course, you see my hand going all the way inside the
Disappearing.
abdomen. But as you felt, you don't even know that I'm there.
Not at all.
So that means there's no position. So all I'm doing is to follow you. See, I'm not breaking through. I'm not forcing my hand to get inside. I'm just knocking on the door and wait for you to open. And when I enter, it was important not for me to enter, is to have you enter with me and to make that contact.
So it's an agreement
It's an agreement.
between the practitioner
That's
and
right.
the healee.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not forcing my way in. I can go only as far as you can bring me. Yeah.
Fascinating and fabulous work. There's a whole other part that is next door, adjacent to what we're talking about,
Yes.
which is the subject of detoxification
Yes.
and cleaning and
Yes.
cleansing and
Yes.
clearing.
Yes.
Would you please speak to that subject
Of
as it
course.
relates to Chi Nei Tsang?
Absolutely. That's actually relates to Chi Nei Tsang and healing in general. Think about it. Why do we get toxified? We have a liver, we have a lymphatic system, we have kidneys, your whole body is designed not to get toxified.
Sure.
So when we toxify, we're following a strategy. See, our body is perfectly designed to be in perfect alignments under gravity when we stand. Okay? It takes a tremendous amount of effort for the body to be out of alignment. Do you know too many people with out of alignment?
Yes.
I don't know anyone that's a perfect alignment.
Yes.
So that means that we have to work hard at being toxic. We have to work hard as being out of alignment. So meaning that
Would
we
you
have to have
say-
good reasons.
Would you say that that's true, Gilles, even today, where the air is so heavily polluted, water, which is 85% of our body,
Oh, yeah.
is nowhere clean, and
Yeah.
on and on and on?
I mean, to me, it's a miracle why people don't die any faster.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
I mean, that's the real
so
miracle.
when
Yeah.
the body was designed, whatever that was, I mean, I know God knows all things, but did He really stop to think about Monsanto and DuPont and these other companies literally destroying
Yeah.
our elements so that we, as biological beings, would have to absorb and kind of deal with?
Cope with it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I understand.
Yeah, to me, it's a miracle. The real miracle is the capacity of adaptation of the body.
Yes.
And of course, it can adapt more or less, comfortably to a situation.
Sure.
And yes, we're all suffering from pollution and, all kind of things.
Tremendous emotional distress.
Absolutely. But really, ultimately, what's most important in healing is not so much the physical pollution, but mental and emotional pollution, spiritual pollution.
Yes.
And I really believe that what's going on in the world in terms of pollution is a direct result of what we do with ourselves internally. All my students, everyone I worked on, as soon as you start to go through the healing process, they change. People all of a sudden recycle. Not that they feel that they have to recycle, but they feel like it's easy to do because it's already going on in their body. You learn to detoxify, you learn to take care of yourself. Well, you start to recycle your bottles, you start to recycle your paper. It becomes like a matter of principle. And it's natural. Whatever happens here starts to happen on the outer, life.
Yeah. You make it easy.
Absolutely.
For the body, and the body naturally extends that wisdom outwardly.
Outwardly.
Yeah. So what is it about the detoxification process that is so vitally important to the operation of the whole?
Actually, it's not really detoxifying that's important, it's the process of it. Because by detoxifying, what we do, we're taking out those layers, this wrapping that we put on ourselves to mask ourselves. See, those layers actually mask, actually wrappings, are things that we hide behind.
Yes.
So the process of detoxifying is actually a process of recognition of ourselves. And that's the most important part.
I see.
Yes.
That's interesting. So many people in the healing world
Uh-huh.
are, I would say, rather stuck on the idea of the body cellularly regenerating healthy cells. And what I keep hearing from you, which I find very gratifying actually as a therapist and acupuncturist, is the recognition, if you will, of the consciousness that always is part of every single cellular shift.
Absolutely.
And it's refreshing because I don't find that most healers bring that level of intelligence to the subject.
Every single cell in the body has all the information in it, all the way from the day of creation, from all the evolution inside. We have that. We know everything.
Per cell.
Per cells. Only our mind doesn't know so much. The mind is there for different purpose. Because if you knew, it would be much bigger. But our cells,
the conscious mind.
Yeah. So we are in every single of our own cells. When we say that, pain in the liver, pain in the intestine, it's not the liver that's in pain. It's not the intestine that's in pain. It's me in my liver that's in pain. It's me in my intestine that's in pain. So it's that information that's important to be aware of.
You find in your 20 years plus experience that it's not so much what people eat as much as
how they eat it.
How they eat it.
And whether they digest is important too. What they eat is important.
Yeah.
But it's individual. No one can tell you what to eat. Only you know. Only your body knows what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of asking people what you should eat, smell the food. See how you feel. Think what kind of. See, the appetite is the notion of appetite. Appetite is your guide.
Yes.
Appetite is actually a good appetite has always been a sign of good health.
That's right.
Now people are scared of it because say appetite means I'm going to eat too much. No, that's cravings. It's different. See, appetite is going to tell you what to eat, how much, and when. The best food always going to change. According to the season, according to your mood, to your state of mind, to the amount of work you have to do, the amount of calories, the temperature.
Humidity,
everything is involved.
In fact.
Yeah. So your body knows exactly what it needs, but it's going to make you feel it, not understand it. So to be in touch with your appetite is not so much that you have to understand how much vitamins you need, how much protein, carbohydrate, and fat. No, it's what do I feel like eating really? What kind of smell opens my appetite? And what would make me satisfied once I have eaten that? Because the key word is satisfaction. If you are able to meet your appetite, as soon as you eat that right amount, then you're satisfied. You don't need to eat any longer. So if you follow your appetite, you actually eat less, but better quality.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yes.
In fact, since we were playing a little game with words here, the word satisfaction comes from the Latin satis, which means enough.
Yes.
That's what it means.
That's all you need.
You've had enough.
That's it. You have enough. And as soon as you do a little more than that, you put your body into stress, gives you more adrenaline, and then you feel like you need to eat more, but then it becomes craving.
Yes.
It's not satisfying any longer.
It's a different operation.
Because you don't feel good
altogether.
after. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there's something else that you brought up during our session that I want to share with the audience, which I also think is a critical piece of the whole, which is this idea of attitude.
Yes.
Attitude is sort of like the beginning, the alpha and the omega of the entire healing process.
Yes.
And you know that. So I'd like to hear you say something about that.
Okay. Attitude in the work means that you bring out what you cultivate in. So there's no way that you can have a good work done if you don't work on yourself first. So the attitude is being able to reflect externally whatever you build internally. So that's why for me the most important part of the healing work in Chi Nei Tsang is the Qigong, is the meditation that's done in preparation of the work.
By the practitioner.
By the practitioner, yes. And that's what takes the longest to learn. Techniques is nothing. Techniques is very simple. But they're not going to work. They're not going to work if there is not the right attitude behind, if there is not the right information and the right message carried through to the person behind. Not only that, but it can be also dangerous for the person who will even give the treatment, because if you're not prepared, there is an exchange of energy and information that could be very detrimental to the practitioner if they're not prepared, if they don't know really what they are doing. So there is a training, of course, that's rigorous.
That's right. It's one's own spiritual work and cultivation.
That's right.
That's right.
And it's not easy. We have to like it in order to be able to perform at that level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the practitioner, while he or she is working with an individual, is running their own chi.
Absolutely.
And
they're working on themselves.
And that would be one of the Taoist practices of the microcosmic orbit.
It could be. It's actually usually a blend of
form of Qigong.
That's right.
A
It's
form of
that
fusion.
First to connect it with the ground. Make sure you connect the energies flowing properly. Being in touch with your own issues, so you're not projecting them in the treatments. Being able to have a sense of space and boundaries. And that's done through the Qigong. Being able to really feel your energy. The energy around you, energy of your partner, and how you can meet and where you can meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because we have these ideas of boundaries, but there is a level on which boundaries exist, relatively speaking.
Yes.
There are membranes, there are boundaries,
well, of course.
your skin there, mine here. But there's another level of reality on which these boundaries do not exist.
Yes.
And so you become one full system with the person you're working with.
Yes.
Just as in a sense we become a system here.
That's right.
In conversation.
Yes.
We form our own entity, our own system, energetic system.
Yes, boundaries is actually a very important concept because it's a mind thing.
Yes.
It's actually the awareness.
Yes.
There's boundaries, physical, there's mental, there's emotional, there's spiritual, in different layers of it, in different levels. They all exist. The training is made to make that awareness of those boundaries. Because again, if you're not trained to really feel them, you won't. Some people are trained to see auras, that's fine.
Right.
But that's a kind of training like this. Is we have to have that awareness of energy, that awareness of exchange, and how far you want to bring it, and how far is healthy to bring it.
Exactly.
And At some time, you have to be able to assess at any time, how far you want to bring the treatment.
That's right.
Or little, So it's always you have to walk that thin line between too much and not enough all the time.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. We're just about out of time, even though time is endless. There's a boundary for you. I want to just bring to bear one other thought in our few last moments that I think is very important, that I feel I've been reminded of very potently by you through the work that we did together here, which is this idea that feeling is an incredible source of information.
Yes.
That while people think that what they gather mentally is so vitally important, as in knowledge, it is true.
Yes.
But feeling, you keep referring to it as the gateway, so to speak, to back to health. Is that a sound
Real
statement?
information is what you really feel is right.
What
It
you
has to
feel
be-
is right.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Felt is not understood, because understood is thinking. Thinking changes.
Right,
You might
exactly.
understand one day another. It doesn't matter. Thinking is there, is very important. Thinking is extremely important. It's for problem solving.
That's right.
But anything you think about, you're going to make it a problem so you can solve it. Now, in terms of health, not everything is a problem. And especially when you talk about emotions by themselves are not a problem because they're not rational. To make it a problem, you would have to have something rational to deal with.
That's right.
Emotions are not rational. Therefore, you can approach them as a problem. But you have to acknowledge them on the felt level in order to be able to grow out of them.
Exactly.
That's the very process of healing emotionally is to outgrow your emotion, not to solve them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know it's irrational, but I have to end the interview now.
No problem.
Again, it's been it's been a true pleasure to have you on, and please
Thank
keep
you.
up the great work. It's wonderful.
All right, thank you.
We've been speaking with the author of this excellent book, Gilles Marin, who wrote this book, Healing from Within. It leads you through the wisdom of Chi Nei Tsang. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.